Morning. Hey, what a beautiful Monday morning, you guys. So good to be here with you. That's my first sip of coffee. Yes. Hi, Nicole. I was thinking about you last night on the way home. I rode my motorcycle to work yesterday. And I was coming up 17th Avenue after midnight. Gave it a little extra crank because it is loud. Wake up your neighbors. Anyway, look, good to be here, and I love that we get to do this every day, and reading the message from the 24-hour day book. It's the 25th of May. My gosh, look at that. But it struck me a little bit this morning before we read this to share a couple of things with, because I know that the people listen to this who are not addicts or alcoholics, but they like the reading, and I'm hearing that, and this book was designed for people in the 12-step world, and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous have been adapted to Emotions Anonymous and Overeaters Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous and Sex and Love Anonymous, and it just goes on and on and on. We've used these steps, and the reason that we can do this because the steps are actually a pathway to a relationship with a higher power. The steps have nothing to do with the addiction, and the addictions are something that we have in ourselves. That the obsession, whether with alcohol for the alcoholic to drink, that comes up in the mind. It's like, holy shit! For many of us, it was our go-to solution for whatever was happening in life. Often things were happening we didn't want to feel, so that was our go-to solution. And it worked for a while. I remember as a kid when I first drank, and I remember actually, I got bigger, and I could dance, and I could fight, and I could, those were things that were important to a 13-year-old. I grew, and a lot of my buddies, that's not what happened, but for me it was different. It did something to me that made me somebody that I wanted to be, and so I became, obsessed with that idea of feeling that way, and so my life became planned around, drinking and using drugs, and what happens though is so many of us don't get to the 12 steps, don't get to a relationship with a higher power. We die, and I was working last night. I work kind of a relief on the weekends at a treatment center, and I talk to a lot of guys, and ego keeps us from surrendering to this higher power. But there doesn't seem to be any other way to maneuver into recovery than turning our will and our lives over to something like a higher power, God, call it what you will. So that's what this book's about. This book is very much about the idiosyncrasies of life in recovery, and I've talked to lots of what we call normies who are not alcoholics or addicts, and they, I've taken them to meetings of the 12-step meetings, and they're like, why are you guys hiding this? This is amazing. The world needs this. and it's true that because it's so open, we don't have a lot of rules, and we don't tell people how they believe in a higher power. If they have a Christian God, that's fine. If they have a Hindu God or a Muslim God or however they believe is fine. If they have just a simple personal God that they call their employer, the boss, whatever the concept is, it just needs to be something that they can say, okay, I'll let you run the show. Because alcoholics and addicts, when we're running the show, make a big mess, or some of us, we don't all burn the house down, but many of us, that's what we do, is we burn the house down. The real alcoholic, the real addict, eventually, can't hold it all together, and so he or she drinks or goes to some other addiction, and anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. That's why I read this, and in the mornings, this is as much for me as it is for you. I don't know where I put my glasses. Oh, there they are. It feels dark in here, but it can't be, can it? We got the lights on. Hi, Kathy, Tracy, and Kim, James, Nicole. Love that you guys are here. So May 25th. This was written in 1954, and this guy, a couple of days ago, started to talk about the 5 C's of the 12th step. The 12th step for many of us is crucial. It's all of us, actually, we stay in recovery, have to be involved in helping others. And for most people that I know that have had any length of sobriety and any quality of sobriety, it becomes the center, most important thing in their life, helping others. And the 5 C's, he said, were confidence, confession, conviction, conversion, and continuance. And confidence, how we get the confidence of the high barb, how we get the confidence of the alcoholic or the addict is that we share our personal experience, and then with confession, he says that's a key thing, is that we share our personal experience. Again, confidence. So sharing our personal experience helps us get the confidence of the alcoholic, and we do that through real, through confession, through vulnerability. At the treatment center where I worked last night, I got to go for a walk around the center with one of the young fellas who's there, and just really share from my heart, and when we open our hearts, healing happens anyway. So then this is the 3rd day on the 5 C's, and he says here, in 12th step work, the 3rd thing is conviction. The prospect must be convinced that he honestly wants to stop drinking. He must see and admit that his life is unmanageable. So this is step 1. He must face the fact that he must do something about his drinking. He must be absolutely honest with himself and face himself as he really is. He must be convinced that he must give up drinking, and he must see that his whole life depends on this conviction. A lot of musts in that paragraph, but my experience after almost 40 years of working with alcoholics and addicts, and admitting and accepting that I was and am one of them, the main thing that keeps people from recovery is that they just don't get that they can't run the show. They just don't get it. And it creeps back in, ego says, oh, it's okay, I got it, I can handle it, I can look after things. Ego tells them, hey, you're fine, we'll do this. And oh, by the way, we can just drink a little. and the crazy alcoholic who a week before or 2 days before swore he was done, I'll never drink again, is convinced that it's okay that they can have a drink. So that whole thing has to be squashed. There can't be any lingering doubt, no lingering doubt. So and from that total surrender comes recovery. And that's what this book is about. It's called the 24-Hour Day book. It's written in 1954. It's pretty exciting. So the question related to the thought of the day, do I care enough about another alcoholic to help him reach this conviction? So that's my job in recovery, is to give this away in such a way so that the guy gets it. And so they absolutely get it, that there is no other way, that they're not going to one day, regrow their legs. That's the example in the big book, is that we're like men who've lost their legs. They're not coming back. And so if we're alcoholic, if we're the real thing, we're never, ever, ever going to be able to run our lives or to drink again. I like the example of a pickle. A cucumber is a cucumber, and it can become a pickle. But once it's a pickle, it can never be a cucumber again. So once you're pickled, you can go back to being a cucumber again. So meditation of the day. There is no limit. There is no limit to what you can accomplish in helping others. Keep this thought always. Never relinquish any work or give up the thought of any accomplishment because it seems beyond your power. God will help you in all good work. Only give it up if you feel it's not God's will for you. In helping others, think of the tiny seed under the dark, hard ground. There is no certainty that when it has forced its way up to the surface, that sunlight and warmth will meet it. Often a task seems beyond our power, but there is no limit to what you can accomplish with God's help. So I know that I get that feeling often that, like even doing this, it is like, I didn't ask to do this. This is just came to be done, and this reading on a daily basis. And I don't know who's listening or who will hear this or who will, I have no idea. But it seems like this is part of my path these days, is to read from this book. And hopefully somebody, it's of help. It certainly is for me. And Trevor comes and listens sometimes. Hey, Trevor? Mm-hmm. So we like it. So that's it. There's the thought for the day, the meditation for the day, and then May 25th, the prayer for the day. I pray that I may never become discouraged in helping others. I pray that I may always rely on the power of God to help me help others. So conviction, the new guy, the new person must have the conviction that they're not one day somehow going to be able to run the show again. And they surrender to this higher power. Life can be amazing. Amazing. Yes. All right. So we're soon coming up in the anniversary of the beginning of AA, which was June the 2nd, 1935, wasn't it? June the 2nd, 1935. Two guys got together, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, and became the very first two people that successfully stayed sober, helping each other using this formula. And from there, right now, there's over 3 million active, although 3 million is a big number. It just doesn't even scratch the scratch of the problem, really, but over 3 million in the world right now. Over this last, is that 85 years? I think, yeah, 85. Coming up in June. Okay, you guys, love you lots, and thanks for allowing me to do that and to read that. And if any of you ever want to talk about recovery or have any questions, post them. I love it when you post in this form, or even if you just say hello. Yeah, and we're on YouTube as well. if you go to our YouTube channel, it's all under Valley and Beyond, because that was the company name that I had stores, and I closed those down. And anyway, that was another world. And I'm happy to be how things are now. Love you. Okay. Thanks for dropping in. We'll talk soon. Bye. Oh, tonight's meditation night. Monday night meditation, 7 o'clock. Join us for meditation tonight at 7. And we're on Zoom. You can drop in and be part of the Zoom call, or we're live on Facebook or live on YouTube.